In today's show, we know who the Blazers are through 2 weeks of the NBA season. Let's talk about identity and how they spin it forward. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richman. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, I want to talk about the Blazers' identity. Through 7 games of the season, they're 4-3, and we kind of know exactly who they want to be. And I think that's really important for young teams. Knowing how you want to get stuff done, what you are, and how you want to play is incredibly important, particularly in the early season, to establish your identity moving forward. I want to talk about that identity. I want to talk about how good they can be in light of the play of Deni Avdija early this season, who looks like a all-star level player through the first 2 weeks of the year, and a little bit of the first impressions of Tiago Splitter, all sort of identity-informing topics today. Let's start with who the Blazers are. We'll get into all of it, though. First and foremost, they're a team that plays fast. They're a team that plays fast. They want to avoid half-court offense. It's been a slog for them at times. I think it was really bad in the first half against the Lakers, and then they kind of started to score fine in the second half, but they just couldn't get stops. Like the defense never fueled them enough the way it needed to fuel them, particularly late in the game. They just could not get enough stops. Old Nick Smith Jr. burned them down in the end. But they want to play fast. Synergy has the Blazers at second in tempo. The NBA.com stats have the Blazers at third in pace. Cleaning the Glass has them at fifth in transition frequency. So depending on how you measure it in various places, the Blazers are pushing. They are trying to play quickly. And that has been an identity for them. And that was going to be an identity for them, right? Like when they hired Tiago Splitter, when they hired Patrick St. Andrews, when they brought in these two new coaches who were assistants at the time, right? The idea was they were going to help revamp the offense. The offense just needed to be reimagined, out with Anthony Simons, who was a bit of a half-court player, and into a world in which they wanted to really lean into playing quickly. That was going to be the philosophy, regardless who was in the big chair. Obviously, for me, I think the sort of identity and the way they wanted to play were established before Chauncey Billups got arrested and is no longer with the franchise, or is on extended leave from the NBA, however you want to call it. The identity had been established. Tiago Splitter said his first, press conference, he doesn't really have to come in and change anything because, one, they'd only played one game by the time he got the gig, and also they installed that stuff 2 months earlier. Here's how we want to play. Here's what we want to do. He just gets to sort of continually instill this philosophy. Certainly, there are little things that probably change the way that Tiago does things versus how Chauncey would have done things, but how they want to play and how they have played, I think was going to be the same regardless, and something that they really committed to this summer, installed in September, and have leaned into from October and now into November. They're a team that plays fast, really, really fast. They want to, right? The whole league is playing faster this year, and the Blazers are among the teams playing the fastest. They are, just in terms of time of possession, even if when they can't run. So fifth in transition frequency, that's if you're trying to run and not play against a set defense, right? And second in tempo, those are kind of different measurements, right? Tempo is how quickly you play. The NBA.com has the Blazers at third in place, and NBA.com also has the Blazers at the second shortest time of possession of any team. The only team playing, averaging less time per possession is the Miami Heat. They want to get shots up quickly. Everybody in the NBA plays between 18 and 22 seconds, right? Because when you play against a half-court defense, on average, it's going to take you a little while to get into shots. You're going to get a shot up with 5-ish seconds left on the clock, and so the Blazers are, just in terms of relative to their peers, it's not this massive gap, but the second quickest possessions of any team in the league. They're playing, even when they get in the half court, playing with pace. Cleaning the Glass also has the Blazers as an effective transition team, which was one of their challenges last year, is that they ran a lot. They actually did a good job of running. They just didn't convert. And while they're fifth in transition frequency, they're 16th in points per game. Like they're not awesome, but if Clean Glass also measures how you score on points per play. So a possession could include an offensive rebound. It could include a couple different things. Like the ball goes out of bounds and you get back and you get the ball back. That's still your maintaining possession. Points per play is anything that's a shot or the stoppage and out of bounds. The Blazers have been very good in points per play, right? Like they rank highly in that category. They've been pretty good in transition, and when you have the volume as high as they do, and you're just average in points per possession, you can be pretty dang good. The Blazers lead the league. No team in the league, according to Clean the Glass, adds more points through transition than the Blazers. They are first in the league in points added per 100 possessions in transition. That is a combination of a great deal of frequency and a decent efficiency. You do it a lot. It's average at it, but you do it more than anyone else, you're going to add a lot of points that way. And this is who they want to be, right? They want to avoid playing against a set defense. The Tiago Splitter quote is that the speed will give us open shots. That's his whole philosophy, right? And I'll get to that in a little bit later too. I want to revisit that idea. Is the speed will give us open shots. That's who they want to be. They're pretty good at running off steals. They actually lead the league in steals at 12.7 per game. No other team is above 11. OKC, who led the league in steals last year, at 10.7 per game in the early going of this season. The Blazers at 12.7, leading the league in steals. Like they run off steals. They're fourth in frequency running off steals. When they get a steal, according to Clean Glass, they're running about 76% of the time, 75.5% of the time. So like 3/4 of their steals go. They lead to transition opportunities. That's who they want to be. They're decent at running off live rebounds, 16th. That's right around league average, right? 15 would be average. But they're because they, if Donovan Clingan gets the defensive rebound, it's hard to run because he doesn't dribble and he's slow. And there is, I think, real something to watch, how Clingan fits into how fast they want to play with both his speed and also like his general skill set on offense. But they need him on defense, and he helps them on defense. He just has not been a positive at all on offense thus far. So they want to play fast. They want to force turnovers, right? They lead the league in opponents' turnovers per game, 21.6 in the early going. I don't want to get caught up too much in the numbers. I think relative ranks is better at this point, but they're first in the league. They're doing a really good job of both playing that pressure style of defense, letting that pressure style of defense turn into turnovers and pushing off turnovers, getting steals and runouts, right? They want to play really fast. Even if they play against a set defense, they want to play really fast. That's your time of possession and your tempo stats. They want to run. That's your fifth in frequency in transition. For what it's worth, Synergy has the Blazers first in transition frequency. So there you go. They're pushing. They're a team that wants to play fast. They want to play really pressure defense. They want to press like heck, and they want to let that pressure get them into speedy possessions. That is their identity. They're a team that takes a ton of threes. They're a team that tries to get to the rim. The whole league is kind of obsessed with rim and three. That's the movement across the entire league and has been for, I don't know. We're closing in on a decade of this obsession. The Blazers are probably taking it to another level, in part because they don't have most teams that take mid-range jumpers have some sort of star level-ish player that thrives there. And what has really changed in the league is that role players don't take middies. Star players still take middies. It is normal to see star players operate in that middle area. It's just role players don't really space there in the league. That's what's really changed. And the Blazers don't have a star level, frontier star level player that thrives in that middle in between space to kind of soak up some of those possessions. You thought it might be Shaedon Sharpe, and maybe it will be eventually, but he just hasn't been that thus far in terms of he struggled to begin the season. Although he's had some better games recently, certainly on offense. His last two games have been a little bit better, although he had a bad first half against the Lakers and then kind of caught up in the second half. because we know what the Blazers want to be, right? They're a team that has struggled to score a little bit in the half court, struggled to score overall, but they're like, just in terms of like league ranks, they're average. I think it's easier to see them struggle score than like look at the numbers in this. And some of their success on offense has been propped up by how much they play to this identity. Pressure defense, play fast, force turnovers, go quickly the other way. I think the question for them as they make this sort of quest to be really good is, do they have a player that can just sort of raise their ceiling? And thus far, I think Deni Avdija has been all-star level good in terms of production. I want to talk about that in the second segment because Deni's like sort of all-star candidacy is not guaranteed, but his production looks like he is in that conversation early, and that's exactly who the Blazers wanted and needed him to be. And so part of your identity is figuring out who your best dude is and tailoring some of the stuff you do. And certainly the style they play fits Deni very well. Let's talk about Deni in the second segment. Join me there, won't you? Before we do that, though, let's talk FanDuel, America's #1 sports book and the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you missed the start of an NBA game or you just want to ride the hot hand, well, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. You can still get in on your money lines and your point spreads and what have yous, but FanDuel's also got live betting on every game. So if you miss tip-off, if you miss the start of the game, you can still pull up that FanDuel app, and there's plenty of action to get in on. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's program is also brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything, and you might have heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed ED treatments designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You connect with a board-certified doctor. It's 100% online. No waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If you are prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonnba to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonnba. Don't forget to use that code LOCKEDONNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses, start making moves. All right, so I think we know who the Blazers are. A team that plays fast, a team that puts a great deal of pressure on their opponents defensively. They force turnovers, they create steals. This is who they are. And even with the sort of losses of Blake Wesley and for potentially several months and at least a month without Matisse Thybulle, guys who really kind of continue to set that tone defensively off the bench. Like guys who kind of, I think the Matisse Thybulle small ball minutes were probably the Blazers' best roster in terms of playing, or best lineup, in terms of playing to your personality, right? Playing to exactly who you want to be. Small, play really fast on offense, wreak a bunch of havoc on defense, and kind of like allow you to lean into who you are. And certainly missing back end of the rotation role players should not derail any team, but it will certainly present a challenge to the Blazers who want to play 10 deep, and they don't want to run up the minutes for everyone. But the question, I think, for the Blazers' ultimate ceiling is how good of a best player do they have? And thus far, through 7 games, Deni Avdija is producing like an all-star. He is. 24.1 points, 6.0 boards, 3.9 assists, shooting 49% from the floor, 37.8% from 3 on 6.5 attempts per game, 82.5% from the free throw line. Those are all-star numbers. 24, 6, and 4, 50, 38, 80 splits. Like, yeah, that's what an all-star looks like. So I think there's a couple things to point out here. One, he's averaging 4 turnovers, more turnovers than assists, right? Like that's a problem for Deni and something he needs to cut down on. Some of the turnovers are baked in. The Blazers want to play really fast, and Deni wants to be part of playing really fast. But to begin the game against the Lakers, he drove into traffic and tried to swoop the ball out, and on a hook pass that got tipped, and then he tried to make a pick, pop, drive inside, tried to find Donovan Clingan. They weren't on the same page. He just throws the ball out of bounds. Those are the first one is just Deni's got to be smarter before he gets in the teeth of the defense. The second one is probably getting on the same page with Clingan, but also maybe shoot the ball. He got kind of caught in halfway in between pass and shoot, and his center, who's not an offensive player, not looking at the rim, right? Or not looking at the rim, not looking at the ball. Again, Clingan's sort of natural fit with the team that wants to play really, really fast, I think is in some ways in question, but more so than just the speed, his lack of stuff on offense, I think is actually a bigger deal. Good offensive rebounder who likes to kick the ball out. They announce you at 7-3 in lineups, man. You got to go up. Starting lineups, they announce you at 7-3. Go up with the ball. So I do think that, Deni has some stuff that he's not perfect at, right? I don't mean to paint him as that. But I think he's been hooping. And I think a lot of the Blazers' sort of identity and ceiling and who they are is defined by kind of how Deni is and wants to play. One way, he's just a battering ram, right? He just, in the way that the Blazers want to play this relentless, high-speed, high-pressure style, Deni Avdija is perfectly suited to be relentless, full speed, high pressure style, right? He got called for 2 charges in the game against the Lakers. One was kind of weak on Marcus Smart. The other one, he just kind of ran through Jake LaRavia unapologetically, caught him in the face with an elbow. Whoops. But just the way he is just a determined downhill driver. And I think the Blazers offense has really suited Deni's skill set a lot. And the best teams tailor the system to their players' skill sets. And the Blazers have done a very good job of doing that, right? The reason that I think Deni Avdija has been able to pick up where he left off at the end of last season is in part because the Blazers system fits his skill set so well. I in the way that I think it also fit what Scoot Henderson does well. And I think, I don't think I'm going to predict my man Scooter to have 24, 6, and 4, but I do think Scoot could have could be really solid because of the way they want to play and the sort of need for his skill set on this particular roster. So let me answer the question. This is way too early. I'm recording this on November 4th. The way too early question that is on your mind. Could Deni make the All-Star team? Absolutely, he could. There's a little bit, I got to hem and ha. That sound you just heard was me hemming and hawing. Allow me to hem and ha ha. I don't know how the All-Star game is going to work, and I can't find any reporting on it. I do know that it's going to be 3 teams, 3 8-man teams. That'll be 24 players, which is the normal size of all-star teams. Reportedly, first reported by Shams Charania of ESPN and then a couple other places, and then Adam Silver confirmed it in some public comments. It's going to be 2 teams, 2 8-player teams of United States players from the United States, and then an international team that will feature 8 players. So it'll be a round robin of 3 teams playing, the worst basketball you've ever seen in your entire life that you don't want to watch, and I might just not tune into. But the honor is still important. I think we could probably do away with the All-Star game in general, but the honor for Deni making All-Star team would be very important. Be important for the Blazers. Be important for Deni. Right? I diminish the game. I think is just has lost all its value, but I don't diminish the accomplishment at all. It's important. But Deni's path. So hold on before I talk the path. Why I say I don't kind of know how it works is because in the past last year they did a round robin type of thing with 24 players split into teams and brought some G League guys in. It was all very, very stupid. It's still the voting is East and West. If the voting remains East and West, then I think Deni's chances of making the All-Star team are diminished. If the voting is international player pool and American player pool, I like Deni's chances. I think he's got a good shot. Obviously, there's a bunch of very, very good international players. The league is incredibly international now. Wemby and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Giannis and Jokic might finish top 4 in the freaking MVP voting, right? None of those dudes were born in the United States. So, obviously, there's a ton of very good international players. But if it is that pool, I do think that does help Deni's chances because they'll be kind of looking down the line and say, like, who else is hooping that wasn't born in the U.S.? And then you see 24, 6, and 4. If this production keeps up, then it is Deni's got a very, very, very good shot, right? Very, very good shot at it. But his chances of making an all-star team are 100% tied to the success of the Blazers. If the Blazers are not particularly competitive, like if they stumble in December and we get to January and they're like the 10th best team in the West or something, Deni's just not going to get looks. You don't get rewarded, right? Like coaches, and again, like, are they going to do the fan voting for the starters and coaches name the teams? Like, I think there's, if I could find some specifics on how exactly it is going to work, I would feel more comfortable predicting this, but it's November. I'm sure we'll talk about this again. Typically when the coaches name reserves is how it's worked in the past, they reward winning, right? It's why players who have maybe had less production than Deni's current production have made the All-Star team with some regularity. But like Domantas Sabonis, a dude who was a legend in the box score, but playing on a bad team last year. And a couple times when the Kings have just been mediocre, Domas has not made the All-Star team just because coaches reward winners, right? So I think the Blazers, like, for Deni to have this chance, one, keep this level of production up, and two, the Blazers have to be something like 7th in the West or better in January, and then he will get very, very, very serious consideration. I think this is all-star level production, but the ultimate rewards depends on, one, the format of the weird all-star game, and two, the Blazers' ultimate success. And part of the Blazers' ultimate success is continuing to play to this identity. They're not perfect, right? Like, they're probably taking too many threes, although I don't think it's like 10 less a game. I think it's like 2 less a game. I really do. I don't mind the volume that much. The bricking is a little bit loud, but I think, like, playing to this identity, and because Deni fits exactly what they want to be and how they want to do things, it seems to be very simpatico, right? Like his skill sets and the identity and the philosophy of the team. But I want to talk a little bit about that philosophy. I don't think we know a ton about Tiago Splitter in the early going, because I don't think it is massively different from what the plan was when he was an assistant coach running the offense versus now as the guy in the main chair. But I want to talk a little bit about some early impressions of Splitter and a couple things that I've noticed at the end of games that kind of fit this philosophy, but maybe aren't your best path forward. Let's talk about that to close the show. Join me there. First, though, let's talk about Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one, remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle of hidden fees. You get unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's got automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits that are going to save you hours each week. And knowing that you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind if you are a Gusto user. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time. That's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's program also brought to you by Doer. They're making extremely comfortable pants. My favorite jeans. I'm rocking the performance denim relaxed taper. I'm looking good because Doer jeans have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. Plus, they combine the classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds. Doer are the pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. So, let me keep it simple. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. Trust me, once you try these, they'll be your go-to. And you can check out the Doer store right here in Portland at 820 Northwest 23rd Avenue. Pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift, and mention my promo code when you're in the store, Locked On Portland, and get 15% off. Or you can check them out online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnPortland for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnPortland. All right, still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. We're still chatting about the Blazers' identity, right? I think kind of know who their best player is, and he fits the plan. We know what the plan is and how they want to do things. If Deni continues to play at this level, they've got a chance. If the identity of being a team that plays really fast and a team that forces a bunch of turnovers, if they can impose that style on teams and not have to rely on their offense. Like I think the Laker game is a really good example of this. Teams that are reliant on one side of the ball to fuel them are going to struggle, right? Because you're just not going to, defense travels probably better than offense, right? Because shot making is not everywhere, but elite offensive teams have a way of being elite offensive teams all of the time. If you're really good at it, right, it'll travel. Defense is maybe weathers the storm a little bit, but in general, like it's effort, it's focus, it's a consistency, it's an attention to the detail of the game plan and all of those things. And if one of those lapses, you might struggle a little bit on defense, but you can it's easier to have a baseline of a good defensive team. But I think like the Laker game is a good example of this. The Blazers, like in the second half, I don't even think their offense was that bad. I think they're fine. Their defense just never got there, right? And the press, like the Lakers were able to break the press by just like throwing it ahead to half court. They didn't have the energy off the bench that they've had in the past because like C.J. Sissoko and Caleb Love are just like not the level of players of Blake Wesley and Matisse Thybulle. They're like, and because of some of their limitations, they get exposed a little bit. And yet, like, Deni had freaking 33 and they were down 4 into the fourth quarter. And even against an incredibly shorthanded Laker team, they're like 6 good minutes of fourth quarter basketball away from winning and us wiping that away and them being 5-2 and feeling really, really good about where they are, which is why getting hung up on any individual result, I think, is maybe a mistake in the early going, although, like, it is... the heart's going to feel what it feels. So I'm not exactly telling you to feel differently. If you did watch that Laker game and felt like someone had kind of kicked you in the stomach, that's okay. That's life, right? Like sports art can be cruel like that. But part of like their identity and like Deni continuing to raise his floor and then playing to, them tailoring the system around the skills of their best players. Is that Tiago Splitter is, he's kind of, to me thus far, I like Splitter's sort of philosophical stuff. Like I like the speed will give us open shots, right? He really leans into that. But I do think he's got a little Ronco rotisserie chicken to him right now of set it and forget it. Like I do think he is in the early going a little bit too reliant on this is our identity and it will work. And I'm not saying this really at all in reaction to the Laker game, but I want to give 2 examples of this. Twice in games that were relatively close, the Blazers have had the ball and a use it or lose it timeout remaining. You can only carry 2 timeouts into the final 3 minutes. So if you have 3 at the 3-minute mark, you have a choice to either use it or lose it. And there are just so few times that you can coach in the NBA, right? Like you can yell out stuff and you can play the system and you can, and like, I think philosophically, Tiago Splitter doesn't want to call those timeouts because he doesn't want to take the ball out of the half court and get them and have them run play against a set defense. He wants them to go quickly, play quickly, and get open shots. There was a moment at the end of the third quarter where the Blazers like didn't get a rebound as the ball bounced away, and they kind of like this is against the Lakers and they kind of decided to sort of fumble away a 2-for-1 opportunity, a chance to get 2 possessions at the end of the third quarter while the Lakers only got 1. And they didn't move quickly enough to get a rebound, kind of ball bounces away, clock ticks a little bit. It ruins the opportunity for them. And Splitter on the sidelines was about as demonstrative as I've seen him all year long. Throws his hands up, hands on his head, turns around because that's his philosophy, right? Play fast. Why are we wasting stuff? And let's go. The speed's going to help us. Why are we walking? And I appreciate that, right? He has a certain philosophical focus, but a couple times these use it or lose it timeouts he has chosen not to take. And to me, that strikes me as leaning into the philosophy. The speed's going to give us open shots. We don't want to slow down. We don't want, as opposed to a chance to coach. This is the Ronco rotisserie chicken stuff. There is a set it and forget it type of feel to this, where it's just like, this will work because the system works, but I think particularly in close games or competitive games or just moments when you have a chance to put your stamp on something, take those timeouts, right? Take those timeouts and put something in. I'll give you the two specific examples. 3 minutes and 2 seconds left. Nikola Jokic hits a couple free throws to put Denver up 2. Blazers get the ball, 3:02 left. If they call a timeout immediately, they can set something up and you can put your stamp on it, right? You can draw something on the whiteboard and create a good-looking shot in the half court. This is your ATOs. You get maybe 4 a game, depending on some possession stuff, when you take timeouts and quarter breaks and things like that, you get 4 plus a game, but I would say 4 is about the right number. To actually draw something up and trust, hey, this is an action that we can get into. We like this advantage. This is when you get to put your signature on stuff. Blazers choose not to do it. Obviously, they won that game against Denver. Didn't take timeouts late. Took one timeout with 3 seconds left. With 3 seconds left, the Blazers get a jump ball, a great block, a jump ball tie up, and another block. Tiago Splitter takes his timeouts that he's just been sitting on since the entire fourth quarter, and they set up the game-winning play, right? It doesn't, that one didn't cost them, right? Against the Lakers, they get the ball with 3 minutes and 22 seconds left. The Lakers had just called timeout 10 seconds earlier. They called timeout at 3:32. They come out of the timeout and they score to go up 6, 111-105, and Splitter does not take a timeout. I can understand why you wouldn't, right? One, philosophy. The speed is going to get us open shots. The speed will give us open shots. Why slow down? That is the philosophical belief, and I totally understand that is a belief. But instead, the Blazers turn the ball over, the Lakers go the other way, and Nick Smith hits the bye-bye, see you later, Damian Lillard three-pointer to put the Lakers up 9 with 2:30 left. Turned out to be the possession that decided the game. A turnover that leads to a 3. And obviously, Nick Smith just making every single shot was really probably the reason there, and not the lack of timeout. But I will say, some of the battle between identity and plan have shown up in these early games, right? Because the identity is incredibly fast. Transition frequency, playing fast in the half court, low time of possession teams. They want to play fast. They want to get shots up quickly in the half court. They want to play pressure defense. They do not want to slow down. That is the identity of the team that they sort of built, and it's what Splitter has really leaned into. But I think there are times, again, it fits the plan. It fits Tumani fairly well. It seems to, if Shaedon Sharpe starts making shots, I think it could fit him very well. Jeremy Grant has found his footing. Deni has been very good. The roster fits this identity that they want to play with. So I'm not necessarily criticizing that. What I am saying here is that the balance for Splitter as he continues his growth as a head coach, and he's incredibly new at this, right? And I'm talking 2 games of his 6-game tenure, right? And I'm kind of, but I think this speaks to the general the battle here that takes place. There is something to the idea that your identity exists for as long as it can, right? And the Blazers playing fast and not taking stoppages against Denver very well may have won them their best game of the season. But there are moments, and there's going to be moments moving forward when just deleting timeouts, just giving them away in the final 3 minutes of close games and not putting your stamp on it because you believe the system will work is a worse call than saying, let's make sure that we get into something. And I think this is the sort of, when you know what you want to do and how you want to do it, breaking from that and saying it's more important to not play to our identity, but get this, or make sure we are guaranteed this type of look or this type of moment. I think that is will be a balance moving forward. Is how much do the Blazers lean into who they want to be? The press didn't really work in the second half against the Lakers, but they never dropped out of it and into it truly fell back, right? And I think that's some of the balance here for a young coach, a new coach, is they know they know what they want to be, they know how they want to do it. How often do you go away from your identity, even if up into the Laker game, the identity was fueling how good they've been, even when they'd struggled, playing how they want to play had been their best bet. When they try to slow down against the Jazz, they struggled, and I think slowing down is the right move, but also it had bad results. So maybe you think okay, maybe it isn't the right move, right? It's an interesting balance, and a balance I'll be tracking, right? They want to avoid half court offense, they want to play quickly, they want to play pressure, but the moments to pull the strings and do things differently is the balance moving forward. And then it's the heights that Deni can take them to as he continues to kind of fit into the system. These are all the things we'll be tracking. We're 7 games in, 75 to go. The Blazers play Oklahoma City this evening. What a fun test. Oklahoma City does not play particularly fast. They love half-court offense, but they get out when they get steals, they'll push, right? They will take their opportunities off of steals. They're not whole yet, but they are the best team in the NBA still on a 68, 69 win pace. They are hooping. I guess they're on an 82 game win pace because they haven't lost yet, but they're about to play. I'm recording this before they play on Tuesday evening, so we shall see. But second night of a back-to-back, you get the best team in the league. This is a fun test to see if your identity can overcome a team that rocks, and also maybe wear out a team on the second night of a back-to-back in the way that it did not the Lakers. That is going to do it for today's program. Tell your friends about the show. I appreciate you listening. I will talk to you soon.